I'm going to go ahead and kick this off. We have about half the registrants on the webinar at this point. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to TechWorks Gaston's first webinar entitled Securely Working from Home. I'm Terry Cox, the Executive Director of TechWorks Gaston, and we're an entrepreneurial tech hub for Gaston County and the region. And TechWorks Gaston is located in a 14,000 square foot renovated mill building that opened April 5th, 2019, just past our 1 year mark, woohoo. And we offer co-working, various event space rentals, and a technology academy focused on K through 12 STEM and adult learning. And we're also an authorized Pearson VUE and Certiport certification testing center, which is unfortunately closed at the moment. One of our primary focuses for TechWorks is cybersecurity. So it gives me great pleasure to do the webinar we're doing today with Terry Zinyak and the panelists. And I'm going to turn it over to Terry with North Wonders Cybersecurity. And for all of you on the call, if you will submit your questions via chat, we will take those at the end of the program. So I'll turn it over to Terry Zinyak.
Awesome. Thank you, Terry. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're excited to have this presentation. We've got some great panelists, and basically, I'd like to give you a quick introduction. So where are we at? In the course of the past few weeks, millions of U.S. workers have shifted to working from home. This seismic shift has challenged us all to rethink how we do business and required rapid changes in both technology and processes. However, these changes have also opened up new avenues of attack for cyber criminals. So the main questions we're going to go through today are, what are the key areas of risk associated with this shift to working from home? What should IT staff be focused on? And lastly, what do your end users need to know to protect themselves and your company? So the agenda for today, I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Let's find the right button. All right. Okay, so here's our agenda for today. First off, we'll remind you of the logistics, and Terry Cox covered this, but everyone's going to be on mute except for the panelists. We encourage your questions, and we're looking forward to your questions. Anytime during the 1 hour presentation, go ahead and submit those questions via chat. If they're relevant and timely, Terry Cox will jump in and she'll throw the question as the panelists are speaking. Otherwise, she's going to save them for the end, and the final 15 minutes we'll go through any of those questions that you submit. So we're going to go through a video first, and the video is setting the table for kind of the conversation. It's going to talk about the risks, the threats, and then leave you with kind of a list of items that you're going to be wanting to worry about, things you have to deal with, whether you're IT staff or users. So let me start that video. After the video, then we'll go through a 30-minute panel discussion and then on to question and answers.
Hello, my name is Terry Zinyak from North Wonders. I'd like to thank TechWorks, Gaston County, for sponsoring me. They brought me in to speak to everyone about how to safely work from home, guidance for businesses and home users. Times are changing, and because of the coronavirus, COVID-19, many of us are now being asked to work from home, and many questions are aroused on how we're going to do that safely, how we can do that securely. Because we're always thinking about cybercrime, or should be. Cybercrime is a multi-billion-dollar industry affecting industries of all sizes. With this dramatic shift of work from home that many of us were forced into very quickly, the question is, how do we protect our businesses and how do we protect ourselves personally? Cybercrime is generally an opportunistic crime, a crime of opportunity, and there's most certainly opportunities available to these criminals. So what I'd like to do is talk through some of those issues and concerns and things you need to be aware of to help protect your businesses and yourself. So, really, what are we worried about? Well, the big shift for remote access is that we are now taking people who are fundamentally protected by our infrastructure protections and we're taking them outside of our network. So what are we losing? Well, we're losing our network protections. When you're at the office, you are automatically protected from certain things. Every link that you click on, in many cases, is being scanned looking for bad websites. And your network will prevent you to getting to those bad websites. You're now on an untrusted LAN. What does that mean? It means that the bad guys are software, the bad software is on the same network as you. That could be Starbucks, it could be your home network, it could be your kid's laptop that has some odd game on it from Russia, which is actually a Trojan piece of software. Lastly, you're disconnected from your security team. So let's now talk about pockets of risk. Cybersecurity is a very broad concept, and we can't really address everything all at once. So to get organized, we're going to go through some buckets of concerns and deal with them at the same time. For the visual, I intentionally added a woman worker or a worker, and I also added someone to represent IT security. The reason being is all of these concepts really need to be considered from a user point of view as well as IT security's point of view. Neither one of those two parties alone can properly secure your remote worker. Both groups have to be thinking about these concepts. So user behavior, authorized data flow. Where's the data allowed to go? Can I put it on a thumb drive? Can I send it to my personal email? Can I use Dropbox? There needs to be rules in place on where data can go and where it can't go. Now that people are off the corporate network, they're most likely going to have access to a lot of technology that they didn't have within the organization. People need to have clear guidance on what they can and can't do with their data. If users have clear understanding of where data can and can't go, you really address that risk and you can manage that pretty quickly. Unapproved technology. So we talked about thumb drives. What about Dropbox? Again, users are going to have access to a lot of technologies. They're going to be rushing to get their job done and things may not work correctly. They may attempt to use technology not approved by the organization. You need clear guidance on what you can and can't do. We don't want them opening up Pandora's box by starting new services, new connections, sending data and using services that you weren't expecting. The last component is social engineering. And how does that come into play? Now that your people are detached and physically removed from the rest of their people and their processes in the department, you run the risk of people not following the process correctly, which can then make them attacked via social engineering. A great example would be I had a HR representative who received an email from a fake CFO, the actual CFO of the company. Someone made an email account with his or her name and sent it to HR saying, please change the information associated with my payroll. The bad guys were trying to get the CFO's check into their own bank account. Luckily, the HR person was able to stand up, walk down the hallway, and talk to the actual CFO and say, hey, did you make this request? CFO clearly said, no, that wasn't me. But they were able to unravel that attack because the HR person was able to get up, walk down, and talk to the CFO. That's not going to be a possibility when everyone's working remotely. So make sure people are aware of social engineering attacks and make sure they follow the processes that are defined. The second pocket of risk is remote network. Now that you're no longer on the corporate network, there's a lot of risks introduced you wouldn't normally have to deal with. First being the home network itself. So you may be at Starbucks, you may be at your home network on the same network as your refrigerator, as your new electronic doorbell, the same network as your spouse's laptop. How protected is that network? How well do you trust that your spouse's laptop doesn't have a virus on it? I know most people, if asked, would say, yes, I have within the past few years heard of someone saying, I've got a virus. I got a virus on my computer. Those computers are residing on your home network now, so if your spouse's laptop has a virus, that makes you susceptible to that same virus. Next pocket of risk is physical. Physical is kind of the forgotten component of security, but really the issue here is what are we going to do about paper records and the media itself. So paper records, people are going to be at home, oftentimes need to print. They need to write things down. And at the office, there'll be rules and policies in place saying we have a shredder policy or we have some kind of mechanism to safely destroy that paper. That doesn't exist at home. So guidance needs to be given to users. What are you going to do with these paper devices? Second concern in the physical space is device or media being stolen. I myself have had my dry cleaner hand me my thumb drive, which was sitting in the pocket of one of my shirts. I lose thumb drives. It happens to everybody. Your users need to be educated and warned, A, not to put data on there that's not authorized, but if it is an authorized thumb drive, how do you protect it? How do you keep track of it? Next pocket of risk is device and media. So there's several technical components. In this case, most of these points are for your IT security group. encryption, firewall, and updates, kind of the three basic tenets of securing computers. Obviously, we got to make sure those things are in place for devices being used at home. However, a new wrinkle now, the fact that everyone's at home, is personal devices. If you're at home, are you authorized to use your personal computer to do work? If you are authorized, is your personal device properly secured? Your company should give you guidance on how to secure a device and what the expectations are. Accounts and passwords, the next bucket. Passwords, I think everyone knows conceptually what a password is. A password's kind of a pain in the rear, but it's a big string of characters and how you authenticate yourself. Multi-factor authentication then is the ability to have two factors. One would be two factors to prove who you are. First factor most likely being a password, but then followed up with a call to your phone, or perhaps followed up with a ding on your cell phone within an application asking you to authenticate yourself. On the account side, here's another critical component. Are you allowed to use non-work accounts for work? All of us have work email accounts, and all of us have personal email accounts. Are you allowed to use your personal email for work business? Probably not. Are you allowed to use your Dropbox account to move files out to a client? Probably not. You got to ask those questions, but here's a key point here. Use work accounts for work and use personal accounts for personal stuff. Keep the two separate. All right, and lastly, secure access. Now that people are at work or trying to work from home, how are they going to get from their home network into the corporate network, which would be accessing the network? Your IT folks need to be on the ball, which they probably are, but a reminder, we need encryption in place, we need VPNs in place, we need proper authentication in place. And in addition to accessing the network, the second component is accessing applications. There's many cloud applications out there these days. Many of us use hosting services or cloud technologies that don't reside on our corporate network. So in addition to make sure I can safely get to the network safely, we have to make sure I can safely get to our Microsoft 365 safely, or get to our Salesforce safely, or get to any of our cloud technologies. So both of those have to be considered. And the last point in this bucket is unauthorized remote access. You as an end user on your own should not be setting up your own method to access your work computer. Setting up Go to My PC is a really bad idea. Using a remote desktop on your own to access your computer is a bad idea. Talk to your IT staff. They most likely have a solution in place. Use an authorized bit of technology if you need to remotely get back into your network. Don't create those solutions on your own. All right, so that's kind of an overview of the risks that we're worried about and things to keep your eyes on. So now let's break it down to a few specific points and real guidance on what you should be looking at. So from a business perspective, what are the top questions? We need to make sure only trusted devices can remotely access our network. Trusted is put in quotes intentionally. This does not mean that it's necessarily secure. It means that it meets our security standards. So if a vendor says their box is secure and they want to get on the network, you got to say, no, I don't trust it. You say it's secure, but I don't believe you. So make sure only devices that you control or you can ensure the security of, those being the trusted one, only those should be allowed onto your network. Rush deployments. Many of us are rushing now to put solutions in place. It could be remote access, it could be sending computers home, sending printers home, sending network technology home. We're rushing to get these things in place. Take a second and consider, were there any rush deployments which bypassed your security reviews? Everything you send out is just another place for the bad guys to attack. Take the time, document what you did, and go back and make sure it's all properly cleaned up. Have the devices all been hardened, and are they remotely manageable? So as a business leader, an IT leader, you have to ask the question, if a laptop goes home with one of our users, do we know it's secure? Is it encrypted? Is it logged? Are patches being applied on a regular basis? And can I remotely manage it? Acceptable use guidance. We need to make sure the end users understand the rules of the road. Those should be documented and they should be discussed with the users. So get that done as soon as possible. If you don't have clear guidance in place, users are going to go about on their own way trying to solve their problems. Most likely they're diligent workers trying to get their job done, But if they don't have clear direction how to solve the problem, they'll solve it on their own. And more often than not, that's going to be a security issue for you. Third party and non-employees. Most of us have partner relationships, whether they are downstream or upstream with us. All the things that we talked about apply to those third party folks as well. We need to keep an eye on those. And the last point I'll make for the business group is this. Security usually considers three components: people, process, technology. We've spoken about the technology, we've spoken about the people. Don't forget about the process side of cybersecurity. The number one cybercrime per the FBI is business email compromise. And that's a very simple attack where you pretend to be someone else sending an email in and try to get the company to change banking routing information or try to get other information from them. That's not a technology attack, but if you have sound processes in place, processes that say, we only change bank routing information after having a physical signed form sent to us. Those processes are going to be tested when you're working remotely. Contract review is another process. How is that going to function when your lawyers are not at site anymore, or your business folks are no longer all in the same room? How does your contract review process look like? Account termination is another great example. A lot of breaches are associated with accounts which should have been shut down that haven't been. What are your processes to make those to shut those down in a timely fashion? Okay. Now, questions for workers. So we're all at home, we're all quarantined, we're fighting with our dogs and our kids, we're trying to get work done. How do we do it securely? So these are the few questions for you to think about. Am I following established processes? Kind of reiterating what we talked about on the business side. There's processes in place that give clear guidance and put controls in place to protect us in certain situations. Contract reviews, new user accounts, change to access rights, how you change banking routing information. Wire fraud's a big issue. Processes are in place, they've been thought through, most likely they've been audited. So take a time out as a worker and say, am I following established processes? If that's not possible due to the fact that you're remote, stop, raise your hand and have that conversation. Hey, what are we going to do? Because we no longer can meet in a room and talk about contracts. Make sure we all agree on what those processes are. Am I managing paper documents safely? Whether you bring them home on your own, you print them new while you're at home, paper is a concern in the cyberspace. Identity theft, medical information, credit card information. Make sure you understand how to manage those, whether you need to bring them back in the office to be shredded, whether you can shred them at home. Consider that risk and how you're going to manage all those papers. Is my home network secure? Most likely on your home network, again, you probably have a refrigerator, you've got your kid's gaming laptop, some suspect things you probably don't want on the same network as your work computer. So this being a list of top questions, I'm going to add a tippy top question. Do you utilize a guest network at your home? So if you were to call your ISP, your internet service provider, they will set up for you over the phone a trusted network and a guest network. Your trusted network, use it for your home computers that you trust, your work devices, your cell phones will all be on a trusted network. The untrusted network is everything else. That's friends and family that come over. It's your refrigerator, it's your doorbell, it's your doggy video camera. Separate the two so the risks of all this untrusted stuff that's on the internet now doesn't impact the stuff that you trust and you really want to protect. All right, point 4, am I utilizing approved hardware and software? Again, you don't want to introduce new technology because your corporate folks, your legal folks, and your security folks have not reviewed the new technology. There's technology in place to help you get your work done. If you find you can't use it, or you find you need some other kind of solution, you've got to reach out to your IT folks. This collectively is called shadow IT. You don't want to introduce your own IT technology to the business because it introduces all sort of risks. So if it's not approved hardware, not approved software, take a second, pick up the phone, call the right folks and validate that. Number 5, am I aware of the policy? What is acceptable use? What am I allowed to do? What can I do? Take a second, your company should have one. Let's read through it, make sure it all makes sense, ask the questions, and make sure you're following the rules. And then lastly, and this kind of sums it all up, am I keeping my work stuff separate from my personal stuff? You have personal email accounts, you have work email accounts. You have a personal phone, you've got a work phone perhaps, or a phone number. keep these things separate. It's going to get you out of a lot of trouble. And that's one of the key takeaways, is keeping the two things separate. So I've included in the presentation a few resources for you. Feel free to look through those. There's plenty of good ones online. I'll give you some direction on what you can and can't do, suggestions how to manage yourself securely online. And then myself, I represent North Wonders. We're a cybersecurity consulting company. We do strategic and planning services for companies of all sizes, helping them keep secure. Thank you for your time.
All right, I think we're back online. Good, good. Thank you, Terry. Hope everyone appreciated the video. The video is available on YouTube. It's included, I believe, in the invite, so you're welcome to share that as needed, and you're welcome to share it whoever you think may get value out of it. So going on with the agenda, I'd like to take this time now to introduce our panelists. Both Bryan and Anthony are joining us. We thank you guys for your time. Bryan, you first, if you don't mind. Bryan Dennstedt is working as a fractional CTO, a Chief Technology Officer, and Business Counselor. So good morning, Bryan. You want a quick introduction for the group? Hold on. Terry, can you unmute Bryan, please?
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you and talk with you guys virtually. Appreciate you joining us to learn a little bit more about security. As Terry mentioned, I'm a fractional Chief Technology Officer, and I do work with the SBTDC as a technology business counselor as well. So if there's anything that we can help you with, look forward to chatting with you afterwards. So thanks, Terry.
Great, thank you, Bryan. And then also we have Anthony Williams. He is the Chief Information Officer at Lenoir-Rhyne University. So good morning, Anthony. You want to give yourself a quick introduction?
Yeah, like you said, I'm Chief Information Officer at Lenoir-Rhyne University in the higher ed space. Been here for about 2 years. Technology is the motivator for our students. That's all they want to see. So, and our staff and faculty the same way. So it's all about technology here. So keep it moving. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Anthony. And then quick introduction for myself. My name is Terry Zinyak. I work at North Wonders Cybersecurity, and we provide cybersecurity leadership strategy and planning for small and mid-sized companies. So again, welcome to everyone. I do see in the chat window we had some problems with this video, so I want to apologize again to everyone working with TechWorks and the panel here. It's our first time through, so again, I want to apologize for any technical hiccups. The full link to the video is in the invite, and if you have any problems getting to that, just let me know, and we'll forward that along again to you. So let's begin with the panel part of the conversation. Again, for all of our audience, any questions that pop up, feel free to type them in the chat window, and Terry Cox will be assisting us. She'll be monitoring, and we'll bring those questions forward as appropriate. Good. So question number one, we'll take this to Anthony to get us started. What should keep a business leader up at night regarding work from home?
Oh, that's a good one. So I would say, well, for me, it's my accountability to my leadership, knowing that I can deliver my expectations to my board, to the president, to staff, to faculty, to students, and making sure that we're getting the money that we're investing into our security, cybersecurity. Second one is a capability. Am I capable of doing it? Is my team capable of doing it? And our vendors that we bring in and support us on the capability side. And the last one is always compliance and risks. Are we abide by the state and local governments around our compliance? Because we do have student data that we have to be careful of, HIPAA data, and our PII, which is on our side is called FLERPA. So we want to make sure that student data is not being compromised, is being secured in the right place, that the right people have access to that data.
At your university there, Anthony, what sort of change did you have to implement to support everyone working from home? Because I'm assuming you were dealing with this last minute like everybody else. Was it substantial change and technology you had to throw in place?
Yeah, one of the major changes that we had to make was to allow people to be able to RDP in from their, actually we issued laptops to them. So they had to be university laptops, and then we had to allow them to have access to their desktops. So that was allowing RDP on the network. It's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it's not secure as we would like it to be. So that was one of the major things that we could do. And then we had to give more people VPN access than we've given before. A lot of our staff and faculty did not have VPN access. So we had to allow those folks to have VPN access as well. So that was kind of a major thing. And then just understanding, not knowing what they have on their network at home was another issue as well.
So your strategy was allow them to go home and then remotely control their desktop at the office to get the work done?
Yes, sir.
Interesting. Okay, great. Thank you. Bryan, on your side, with the clients you're dealing with, what are the business leaders worried about in this new environment?
I think, to echo Anthony's statements, I mean, it's really that accountability to the board and that leadership team. But the thing that keeps me up at night is really around, I believe wholeheartedly that the users have the best of intentions with all of their actions, but they do see an email and they get nervous that they need to do something. There's an expediency and urgency, and they click on something that they shouldn't. So if you're in doubt, don't click on it and forward it to your security team to review it, and then they'll give you the thumbs up. That's probably the thing that keeps me up at night is which of my users with the best of intentions is going to click on something bad and malicious and cause some harm to our network or our infrastructure. So I've had to deal with those from both the CEO level, the administrative assistant clicked on something of the CEO, all the way down to everybody else. So it could happen, and any of those are entry points for the bad guys to get in. So.
Great, thank you. Anthony, if I can start with you again, I think this lends well into your prior statement. So with the rapid implementation that many companies are going through to support work from home for their users, is this increasing existing risk and or introducing new risks that people need to worry about?
Take out my mute again. I think it introduces both new and old risks. That some of the I will start with the new risk first. New risk is now we're allowing people to either take data home that they would never take off campus before, and that's around some of the student information, or either have access into a system, maybe a file. Some users don't have shredders, so what do they do when they print off that data at home? So that becomes the issue. Knowing who's around them when they actually are doing things, when they're looking at student information. The other one is, what was the other one? What is their home environment like? So those are all new risks to us, because a lot of times before we didn't have a lot of people using VPN access or taking data home, and that's all new. Any of the old stuff is just user training. That's always going to be a top of mind, just like Bryan said, user training. We in our email system, we have that banner that says this came external, but we still have people clicking on things that come from the president and it says external, and he never sends an email to anybody external. So a lot of times it's just them understanding, that's an external email. It comes from the president, but it's not a realistic email. So it's users as well.
Good. Yeah, I heard someone said computers are really secure if we didn't have any users attached to them. Yeah, I agree. Okay.
We wouldn't have jobs either.
Good point. All right, so Bryan, let me take the next one to you. So when people think cybersecurity, it's typically three key tenets: people, processes, and security, and those three have to work together to build a comprehensive security program. We've been talking about technology, and actually we're talking about people as well. But on the process side, what are the process protections should be the biggest concerns due to the new work from home?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a CTO at numerous different companies, and the process is really the key of blending those users and their education and understanding in with the technology that's helping you block and stop those bad guys. But that's really where I typically lean on my security officer. So I almost bounce that one back to you, Mr. Terry, here for your expertise in cybersecurity and stuff. How would you define that process question?
Well, what I think is when I go through my risk analysis, I try to formulate some sort of structure based on actual statistics. I know the number one crime, according to the FBI, is business email compromise and everything associated with that. So my thoughts are people that are willing to bypass processes to change routing information, to change payroll information, to reset passwords. If they're going to bypass those processes when you're at the office, it's going to get much worse when you're at home. So my concern is those sorts of security processes, and the fact you can't get up and walk down the hallway, and you can't talk to people, and you're not in your normal environment. I think that human part of cybersecurity is going to get worse because you're just detached from the whole business environment and all the support structures that are there in place.
I agree completely. I mean, every one of those scenarios you just said has happened to me as a CTO. Somebody has come to me and said, I did this. And I go, that's not the process. And they go, yeah, I agree, but I thought it was urgent and we could bypass the process this time. So yeah.
You know, I think that's actually something else we're going to lose is people raising their hand and say, I think I just made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And to have the ability to quickly call Bryan or Anthony and engage the security team and say something happened that's odd, that culture of cybersecurity that weakens as people are distributed and working from home. Anthony, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say the other thing that I think is being that people process technology is that interoperability to ensure that the physical security of that device that they took home. You know, let's say for instance, I'm working on a document. I'm inside the system that has a bunch of information in there that nobody should have access to. And let's say now my son comes up because he wants to browse some YouTube video real fast. Now he's on it. And let's say he downloads something real quick because he wants to play a game and I just walked away to go start cooking or something like that. So now he's actually infected my machine by downloading something. So you have to also think about that physical space when they walk away. If they don't know that process or that they need to lock their machines when people are around, when you have guests over or anything like that, you need to make sure that they understand that process. So a lot of times, I don't think a lot of companies were prepared for what has happened, you know, to be working from home. So really nobody really had procedures on, you know, a lot of companies because every day their whole environment was at work and now they're coming home to bring the equipment home. So they wasn't prepared. They didn't have policies and things ready for that at that point in time.
Yeah, and on the physical side, I'd also find interesting, Anthony, that you allow people to print from home. I don't think a lot of companies do that. Obviously, you went through your own internal risk assessment. What were the pros and cons, and what were your concerns about letting people print from home?
I would say some people, because some people are just those people that are, I call them legacy people. I'm not gonna say old, they're legacy. So they used to being able to touch that document and outline it and stuff like that. So some of it we have to, you know, because we don't want to change the way they do their business because it'll slow them down in this process right now. We're trying to get students approved for next year. We're trying to get, you know, classroom stuff taken care of so professors can still produce in their class. So some of that stuff we have to be prepared for to say, okay, if you print, please either shred it or bring it back to work tray. Don't throw it in your regular trash can. Also, talking about, you know, locking their computers. We had to put a policy in there. We do have when they're on-prem, if they're through the group policies, it'll lock their machine after a certain period of time. Where when they're at home off the VPN, it doesn't do that because it doesn't see the policy. We did locally put some policies on their local machine so it would lock, but if we gave them a fresh machine off the back, some of that group policy stuff might not got to their machines at that time. So
I think that's where I'm excited to see the future of it go, because I know Google and Microsoft are both rolling out document-based access controls and group-based, folder-based access controls. So we should be able to alleviate some of those printing problems that if it's in the private secure folder, you can't print it, you can't download it. But if it's in the academic class folder, you would be able to. So I'm excited to see how that rolls out, but I don't think companies are going to that level of sophistication yet, but it will come in the next few, hopefully maybe even sooner with this whole thing that's going on here. So
yeah, I think it's coming because this work from home genie's not going back in the bottle. We're not all going to be working from home in the future, but certainly a larger percentage than was the case a couple months ago. Excuse me, Anthony, several of the things you spoke about, and Bryan as well, were user behavioral sorts of things. Are you guys aware of companies that have perhaps refreshed their acceptable use documents, or perhaps made a work from home acceptable use or policy or guidance to the users?
Yeah, for us, I created that probably about a week ago. It's at our governance level right now. Just reviewing it, making sure that policy is straight. We will roll it out hopefully in the next week and a half. Once it gets approved by all our cabinet members for our governance committee. That policy, I mean, we're in education. It's okay not to go out there and reinvent the wheel. You can take somebody's policy and manipulate it towards yours. There's a lot of policies out there for the bigger schools for us. So I looked at their policy, downsized it to what our environment is, and gave it to our governance committee. I mean, it doesn't make sense to just, like I said, reproduce it. There's websites you can go to. So for us, it's getting that policy out there and making sure each user is aware of it. There's a student side of it, and there's also a staff and faculty side of it. So that policy should be released soon.
And I would just add, you know, it's the repetition that's the key here, Terry. I mean, we go to church and we work out every day and every once a week kind of thing because we want that repetition in our life. The same thing's true on the security front. We need to pop that acceptable use policy back in front of them and give them that 2-minute quick video from me or Anthony. Just say, hey, this is important. You need to take it seriously. So, you know, let's reiterate a couple gotchas. You know, don't let the kids on your work computer. That kind of a thing here to just help reiterate. We may have signed it, but the kids haven't. So how do we separate that a little bit? So those couple things are really important to reiterate on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think that goes to user education, awareness, as well as culture. All those things roll together. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. As a reminder to the audience, the attendees, any questions you may have, please submit it in the chat box. And as we get to the end of the program, we'll go through those and we'll answer those as we get them. So Bryan, let me send the next one to you. In light of recent announcements regarding security, what suggestions do you have for users of Zoom and/or WebEx and Teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think Zoom did a good job rolling out some big changes earlier this week. Obviously, you know, use the program of choice from your organization. I think they're all, you know, equally sophisticated nowadays, and they all have a lot of configuration settings. So use the recommended settings that your company is passing down first and foremost. But do take a few minutes to go in and customize those settings to what your needs are. Most people probably have a personal meeting room ID number or something like that, and just set up the right parameters, whether you want to have a password, whether you want to be able to admit people in, have their cameras on or off by default, to be able to share their screen or not share their screen without permission, maybe the chimes when they come in or leave the meeting. So just use all these different security tools that are available to you. In all of these tools, they have them, and make sure you find the right acceptable risk level for what you're comfortable with. Obviously, if it's a really important top secret meeting, don't use your personal ID. Generate a new unique one, put the password on it, really set that up. But if it's a webinar like this, just block people from sharing their screen and you know, like we're doing here, ask the question to the panelists. So.
Excellent. Anthony, anything you want to add to that?
I think Bryan did a great job. The one thing that I would like to say is there was one of the universities that they were having a governance meeting, a board meeting or something like that. And they had someone come on because that governance meeting was not password protected. So that means anybody can come on. You can just pretty much scan through and get on. And they started shooting a lot of pornography stuff out there. It's because the person that ran the meeting didn't understand how to kick that person off. It wasn't password protected. It wasn't, you know, you have to secure your, because there is a big thing right now they call it Zoom bombing. You guys can all look it up. It's called Zoom bombing. So you want to make sure you understand exactly what Zoom bombing is and how to protect yourself against those kind of things. That goes the same thing for WebEx as well.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Anthony, so this is it's an interesting one. If you were a hacker, assuming you're not, if you were a hacker, how would this changing environment impact your strategy?
Well, since I am a whitehead hacker, for me, if I'm really doing this, I'm going after the user. So I know that the user's environment, most people are not tech people when they take work home. So I'm going to go after the user. That's number one. I think the users, because most users lack a training from work and home environment is totally a different environment. So, and them not understanding even with it, because once AT&T, whoever their vendor is, comes and drops the internet connection off, that's it. They just drop it off. The user knows how to add those Internet of Things to it. So from a hacking standpoint, I'm either hitting them from social engineering, or I'm going after the Internet of Things and attack something on their environment so that I can get through their VPN and come back the other way into their corporate environment.
Good. Bryan, what would you do if you were a hacker?
Yeah, I mean, this is the goldmine opportunity that these hackers are looking for, really, right? I mean, this is a time of global upheaval to a degree, global change, global fear of the unknown that's happening. So this is the time to send out those emails that says, hey, I've got the cure for this. I've got I need just $5 and I'll help you with this. All we really need is your Facebook password, which happens to be the same one that you use for your corporate email, kind of a thing. So this is the time where you're going to see a lot more social engineering techniques, in my opinion, coming out. And that's what I would be doing is blasting huge amounts of emails, text messages, everything I can get my hands on to try and get your password or get a little bit more information so I can guess your password, so I can get into your systems on that front. So as Anthony mentioned earlier, for the stuff that's really, really important, I think you even went over it in your video, Terry, is turn on that two-factor authentication. Make sure you have it on for your email, for your bank accounts, and for anything else that you sort of deem top priority in your life. And that's how you can avoid the guys coming after you.
Yeah, I think this is also a good reminder of the difference between cybersecurity education and cybersecurity awareness. So education is don't click on the link, how do you do the link, what do you do with a bad email? Awareness builds that mindfulness. So if Bryan and Anthony are talking to their end users and saying, hey, we're seeing a big spike in COVID-19 phishing attacks, that builds that cynicism and mindfulness to get people thinking, hey, something's going on, I gotta be a little more careful. So you're right, it's a great time to hammer on the awareness part, because a lot of novel new attacks are coming, and people need to be prepared for it. And they need to slow down and think before they click.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, Anthony, let's send this one back to you. If you had $1 extra to spend on security, where would you spend it? And I know Bryan thought it was funny to have $1 to spend on security because $1 doesn't go too far these days. But the idea being, if you have some extra resources, whether it's dollars or people or time, if you had a little extra resources, where would you spend them now?
I'm going for the user. I mean, I think we've harped on it. I'm gonna keep saying it. I think the user is the weak link of the whole environment. I mean, if you had just a environment that had no users but all AI and machine learning, you probably would never have a problem. But because we have an extra user who just wants to click, they see something that interests them, it's going to be user training and awareness just to keep them aboard. You'll never stop it, because a user, no matter what, is always going to be that person who is default. But at the same time, you can get them aware, get them the training that they need. I mean, that's where my dollar would go.
Great. How about you, Bryan? Where are you spending the $2 you're going to get? I'll give you 2.
Cool. I got 2 now. I doubled up on this. Yeah, I mean, I echo Anthony completely. I mean, it's the awareness and the education that's where the money should be spent. I was the CTO at a telemedicine company, and I asked the doctor, do you enjoy practicing medicine? He goes, I love practicing medicine. I just hate living people. And it's just, it's that funny anecdote, but I mean, that's what we are doing in the security space too. All these tools and everything we're building are to help people be safe, be secure, and do the best job they can. So really, I mean, anything we can do to make them smarter and stronger on that front is $1 well spent.
I would also say that this is not just about my business. This is also about the home user too, because they have to protect their own self. A lot of times when you go home, you're doing, I would say, I'm not going to go to Starbucks and start paying my bills through all my accounts, Wells Fargo's and all like this. I can be a man in the middle. You can always hit the man in the middle. So you should always be safe at home too, not just our security awareness training programs should focus on the business side, but also at home, because sometimes if they're safe at home, they'll hopefully bring that stuff to work as well. So if you can give them that training that's really make them think about what's going on in their home environment, they'll bring it to the work environment as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if I had that dollar to spend, I would focus perhaps more on the process side, which is tied to people, but a reminder that most companies have sound processes for account termination and password resets and payroll changes. Those processes have been thought out. Most likely they've been audited and tested. You got to remind users to stick to those processes. And if that's not possible because you're working from home, if you can't walk down the hall and verify that Anthony actually made a request, and that's your typical process, you got to stop and raise your hand saying, hey, this process isn't working. Guys, we need to talk through and figure out how to do this securely. Okay, good. Okay, so we're near the end of the program here. Looking to see if anyone, attendees, if there's any more questions you have, go ahead and type those into the, like it looks like we're getting some in the Q&A. Please submit those now. And Terry, are there any questions that you think are worth reviewing with the group?
So Terry, so here's one. Okay, I have a few. I'm already seeing a bunch of phishing from PayPal. Have there been others?
I've seen personally, fake emails from the airline. I've seen a fake email from the bank, and I've definitely seen one from eBay, but that's probably not surprising. So eBay, PayPal. I've had a few forwarded to me. You know, they just blatantly, you know, ask for the bank account information. We need the wire transfer immediately. So, I mean, I have seen an uptick in it for sure.
For us at the house, I noticed that my fiance, she's getting more emails because she's a shopper. So she gets a lot of emails, probably being redirected from Facebook into the Nordstroms, the Walmarts, those kind of things. So she's getting a lot of emails, and if you hover over the link, it doesn't go back to the Walmart, it doesn't go back to Nordstroms, it doesn't go back to Macy's. So a lot of that stuff. So she's getting, you know, a lot of just bogus emails from there. As Bryan said, the other ones are just generic, and those come without even this being in this time right now. Those are just going to keep coming no matter what. So, and we are starting to get some stuff from here at the university from our president, but those are ones that are coming external, and it says external on it, but some people are, you know, thinking that it's coming back of some policy that we put out there, clicking on that link, but you know, we're stopping them as much as we can, but they're coming in so fast now that, you know, those threat actors are really paying attention to what's going on.
So Terry, on the follow-on, they said, how can you tell when it's phishing?
That's the $1,000,000 question. So there's some technology. I'm sorry, I don't remember. Bryan, you probably know this better than I do. You want to go through some of the maybe technology solutions to this problem?
I mean, you're probably more versed in some of the software pieces. I mean, the easiest way to do it is never ever click on any links in the emails. If it's an email from your bank, you can go straight to the bank website and type it into your browser. You don't need to click the link. So that's the best way to know for sure, and double check it. And as Anthony mentioned earlier, I'll steal his thunder a little bit. I mean, it's the simple thing of just marking the email as coming from external versus internal. You know, if it's an email from somebody, you know, works at the company and it says it's external, then you know that's probably a spam phishing one. So there's spam scoring tools, and Terry probably has a long list of which ones he'd recommend that we install.
Yeah, I imagine most of the smaller businesses are using that Microsoft Exchange Online, and those have some pretty good tools to detect phish. So what you can do in there is you actually classify your high value users. And when an inbound comes purportedly from that high value user, it'll flag it and it'll delete it for you. But there really is no 100% sound way to detect these things with computers, which is why the bad guys use it. So you layer it. You get the filters to work pretty well, and then you educate your users. To Bryan's point, don't click on any links at all. Be cynical, raise the awareness by having the conversations. But I think the key point with what I've seen, I read a lot of threat intelligence feeds. it's not necessarily that we're getting more and more phishing campaigns in the past couple of weeks, but if the objective of phishing is to get someone engaged and enticed to click on a link, all of a sudden you've got a great topic to talk about, the COVID cure. Here, Trump's statement on how we're going to manage this. Italy's just shut down everything, whatever it may be. Very enticing, and they're trying to get people to click on links to do whatever their malicious intent may be. So again, a great time to beat on that awareness drum. Hey people, dangerous emails are coming associated with COVID-19. Keep an eye out for it. If you see anything suspicious, let us know.
Okay, so I've got another one. You mentioned about segmenting your residential network to separate unsecure devices from your computers. Are ISPs like AT&T and Spectrum used to doing this, and how do we get started?
Yeah, I believe most of them will do it for you. It's just give them a call and say, this is my intent, is I want a segmented network. Again, I've used this for years, and my ISPs have set them up for me. The idea being you have a trusted network, so perhaps you trust your kid's school laptop, you trust your work laptop, you trust your personal iPad. You don't trust the neighbor's iPad who comes over. You don't trust your refrigerator. You don't trust other stuff that you're not managing, you're not taking care of. Those things need to get to the internet. Have them a nice, simple, no password network they can use, which is guest or untrusted, and then a trusted one, those things that you're worried about. So yeah, I use my ISP. They set them up for me. So just give them a call. If you have your own home wireless network, you can set it up yourself as well. But again, the idea is you trust certain stuff, let those work together. You don't trust other stuff. Don't bother trying to secure the stuff you don't trust. Just get them off the network.
Okay, great. So another one, what are some of the best in class cloud practices for a very small virtual business?
Anthony, you want to take that one? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say some of the cloud practices. Number one is always if you're small, that means you're probably one to 10 people, 1 to 10 people. Family business, something like that. Real estate. Those I would say, because a lot of folks create their own emails on Gmail and stuff like that. So a lot of times when you solicit out, as far as those, you need to make sure you clear that up to make sure you're whitelisted. So a lot of times when you're doing your business as a real estate person, let's say a real estate agent, and you want to use a service, Gmail has a service that would allow you to be on the business side and not just be a regular user. Because if you're trying to promote your business from Gmail perspective, you want to make sure that you don't look like spam to me. Because if you send something to me, more than likely from a Gmail account, and I don't know you, I'm probably never going to see it. So you're wasting a lot of your precious time. You need to become that business type person on there. And some of the services out there, the Office 365s, Gmail, Hotmail AOL is still in that category of, coming from me, I'm looking at it as spam. There's cloud services like Mimecast, or those are high-end ones that you can use to protect yourself from emails coming in. There's some one-off virtual companies too that support the small users to capture, like a Barracuda firewall or something like that, that would help you as well in a cloud solution. There's VPN tools that you can use out there. I can't give you all the names because we would use the enterprise companies, but there are companies that support the users from VPN access into their, let's say if you have the VPN to your home environment, there are services that actually would do that, or to your small company. There's phone services now that you can use to put a UCAS up, to use a cloud service phone company as well, so that you can do things that way too. So those are kind of some of the, I can't give you the names, I'm sorry, I don't know names off the top of my head, but those are some of the services that you can actually use for like your small virtual businesses.
Yeah, I would say all of the tools and the products you're using, whether it's Google Business, Microsoft 365, your bank, your payroll service, whatever it is, they typically all have best practice guidelines. So don't try to uncover and figure out the best way to secure it yourself. Go follow those guidelines. So the bank will tell you, make sure you have secondary contacts. They'll probably force you to have multi-factor, but they'll tell you review your bank record once a month. Microsoft 365, there's a lot of best practice security guidelines on there to make sure you use all the technology that Anthony's describing. So again, don't invent it yourself. Talk to whoever's selling you this stuff and say, what's my top 10 checklist from a security perspective? And then perhaps you may have to hand that off to your IT service provider if necessary, but you know, don't reinvent the wheel. The security guidelines are out there. You just have to go ask for them.
So Terry, I don't have any additional questions unless any of you out there want to pop one in.
So I've got one more on the agenda. I think it's perhaps a good way to wrap this up. So, so Anthony and Bryan, I'll ask both of you guys this. So what's your last bit of advice to everyone? What should they be focused on? What's the one takeaway? Bryan?
I think the one takeaway is if you haven't done this yet to your users and your colleagues, and even sit down with the family and just talk through this, is like Terry was saying, is a little bit of that awareness. You know, so raise that awareness. If there's an opportunity, do a little bit of that education. You know, take this as an opportunity. We're stuck at home. We're all doing a little bit more spring cleaning, but you can spring clean your inbox too. Start unsubscribing from a lot of that stuff. You know, 20 years ago, we were excited to walk to the mailbox to get letters, and we got 1 or 2 emails a day. Now we're getting hundreds of emails a day, and I'm still looking forward to going to the mailbox to see what silliness shows up there, an actual letter from somebody. So I would just, you know, use this as some time to clean up some things and look at your security processes like we talked through. So
Yeah,
Anthony?
Yeah, I would have to agree with Bryan. Also, look at this as being, this is going to be the new norm, how we're adapting to things. You know, it's going to be less. Unfortunately, during this time, there's going to be a lot of your small mom and pop businesses who never recover from this. There's even going to be big businesses that may have to be put into a category of they may have to sell off to a bigger company. So this is going to become the new norm. You know, the shopping online, your emails. The only thing that's going to happen with emails, it's just going to become more emails in the next future. It's going to be more and more emails. You know, all your social media. Don't try, if you don't want to be known, get off of social media. One thing that I do is I used to be on social media on every platform and what it is. Since in the last 5 or 10 years, I think I've gotten off, and there's less of me out there. You don't see me. You might see me on LinkedIn. You might see me on Facebook. That's it. But if you do a Google search for me, even with me going for my PhD, until I'm documented, you probably won't see my name out there. I try to avoid as much, you know, spam as I can. I don't open up a lot of spam. I probably block more from my personal than I ever did in my life. So I try to avoid, you know, that awareness, and I try to make sure my family's aware of what's going on and what the new norm is going to be in the future as well.
Great. And then I'd add one last thing is a reminder that security and technology is here to support the business. So it's a great time to really think about what are your key business processes and think through business continuity planning. What are you going to do if you can't, if your payroll company's down? What if your email's unavailable? What if your tool you use to take care of your patients is unavailable? If you can't get to your client information, think about business continuity. That what if your computer's unavailable? What if your internet pipe doesn't work? What if someone got into your account and you can't get back into your Twitter account? Think through those processes. Again, end of the day, all we're talking about is how to support the business, but start with the business. What does your business do? What's most important, and how would you function if some of your technology were not available?
So
thank you.
So yeah, thank you. Thank you, Terry and Bryan and Anthony. And we will send out the recording to all the attendees. I appreciate it very much, and y'all stay safe and stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.